Jimmie Johnson has joined us. Jimmie is a 5-time NASCAR Sprint Cup Series champion, a 2-time Daytona 500 winner. Won the Daytona 500 in February, and he's our points leader. He's got 3 wins to his credit. He's driving the number 48 Lowe's Dover White Chevrolet. And Jimmie, coming back to Daytona, certainly a place that last time you were here, you were in Victory Lane and got the season off flying colors. Talk about coming back to Daytona now.
Yeah, I'm excited to be back. Fond memories of dancing around like fools doing the Harlem Shake out on the front stretch. Even watching, who was it, Jason Worth and Willie Robinson from Duck Commander wrestling around outside my motorhome once everything had thinned out. So I came back and looked outside my bus. I'm like, that's where those goons were wrestling, and can't help but think of our good times out there on the front stretch. So excited to be back. Our restrictor plate program has been very strong, as always, and I think that I've done a nice job with this rules package to race for track position, maintain track position, and put ourselves in position to win. Clearly did that with the 500, and then in Talladega we had an awesome weekend too and ran up front, and starting the last lap I really felt like we had a chance to win. And then Furniture Row, was it Furniture Row? What team are those guys? Whoever it was. Yes, those guys, front row.
Front row.
Front row. They came blowing through and won there, but I felt like we were, in a very good position starting the last lap of the race. So excited to be back, and looking forward to some fun Saturday night.
Take some questions here. Marty's got the first one. We can get Marty. I'm sorry. I saw his hand first. Marty, Ed, Reed.
That is some impressive hustle. Marty Smith, ESPN. Johnson, let's discuss this restart thing. What's going on there? There's been a couple times where you had issues and seem extremely confused with the rule. So how do you understand it, and where do you stand right now with your frustration with that?
I mean, yeah, there are a couple bad restarts that have been highlighted in a focal point here of late, but there's a lot of other great restarts that have happened, and a lot of other great opportunities to win races and lead laps and pull all it off. And I know the rule. I feel like I'm maybe a little focused on the way the rule reads exactly and paying maybe too close attention to that. And maybe I should lighten up and loosen up on the way some restart, and then certainly the way I do. There are a lot of restarts, especially during the Kentucky race, that I brought down that, I feel like a good citizen, good student, and doing exactly what I'm supposed to. And, there are other times where I don't feel that exactly happens, and that it's not called on or viewed from the tower as kind of the rule reads. So, end of the day, I'm just going to lighten up on how I think about it and use that zone and that area, regardless of the way the rule reads, to get an advantage and worry about myself.
Ed?
Ed Hinton, ESPN.com. Jimmie, all of this in the context of the crapshoot of a plate race at Daytona. Despite the stat that it's so hard for a driver to repeat winning the Daytona 500 and then the 400 in the summertime here, I think it's pretty much consensus that with you, that stat kind of doesn't matter. It's what you do Saturday night. But both you and the other thing people wonder about, can Danica do as well Saturday night as she did in February here? Can you talk about, in the context of how much chance both of you have of doing as well as you did in February, considering this is a night race, 400-mile race, intense plate race?
Yeah, I really feel like we have a great chance to come here and win again. The rules are the same. So from a car standpoint, our race car that we won with is, out in the parking lot, basically at Daytona USA. But outside of that, not a lot has changed. So I feel like the speed in our race car and what we need there from a mechanical standpoint is there. And then it's just down to racing luck and how that plays out. Plate racing, we all know the odds there. I mean, it's tough to get it right. That's probably why that stat is in existence, and someone hasn't won the 500 and the 400 in the same year. But I feel we'll have a great chance to do it, and I expect to run up front all night long and be a factor, and hopefully have racing luck go our way. And then as far as Danica, if she did it in the spring or did it here in February, she can do it again without a doubt. And I think these tracks suit her style. She has a lot of comfort in running flat out and running side by side in a restrictor plate situation, and she should be very competitive.
Let's go to Reed and then Lee.
Reed Spencer with NASCAR Wire Service. My question relates to Ed. It's been 31 years since anybody's swept both races here at Daytona. Why is that so difficult, do you feel? And, just in general, why is it the randomness of the racing here, or, why is it so hard to do that?
Have plates been on for 31 years, too? Is that pre-plates?
Yeah.
Is that? I mean, with restrictor plate racing, we know the packs that we run and the wrecks that we cause, but if, that number goes back prior to plates being on, I don't really know.
Only 5 years before.
Okay. In the past, I could say my early years racing here, the 500 cool temperatures, track had a lot of grip. People are a little more relaxed for a 500-mile race and trying to get to the end. And when you came back for this event, the track had so much less grip, much hotter conditions. There's just more urgency to lead and be up front that I feel there's just more energy and more opportunities to make mistakes in the July race than the February race due to track conditions, and also everybody's just charged up for a night race and 4th of July and all those things.
Let's go to Lee, and then we'll go to David Caravello.
Lee Spencer, FoxSports.com. Philosophically, how do you look at restarts in general? And since, Dover, last month and a half, whatever, have you reviewed tape at all? Like, football teams would look at tape and decide, kind of what to do, where to go here. I mean, just big picture, how do you look at it? How do you interpret it? And what are you doing so it doesn't happen to you again?
Well, learn from mistakes, for starters. And at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how I interpret the rule. It's how it's enforced. And that's the thing that I'm trying to focus on now. It doesn't matter how I read it, what I think. Clearly, the way I've felt a few things have gone are different than the way it's enforced. And the way it's enforced is all that matters. And so that's where I'm focusing now.
Let's go to David Caravello and then Claire B. Lang.
David Caravello, NASCAR.com. Kansas was in here earlier. He talked about how on plate tracks, sometimes he'll try a tactic and it won't work, and he'll try the same tactic and it will work, and it's very difficult to kind of gauge what will work and what won't work in a pack like that. Is it possible to learn from what you've done in the past and put a move in your hip pocket and say, okay, maybe this didn't work here, but I can try it here, or is it all just so unpredictable none of that matters?
It is really unpredictable for sure. The thing that makes it so tough to consistently work on time and time again is most passes, if not all, you don't do on your own. You might see the opportunity, but you need to have maybe let off the gas or drug the brake to back up the car behind you to get the run at the right time to take advantage of that hole that opens up or what you see is going to happen. That's tough to do. That's the hard thing. And then sometimes you make that move and you get out there and you look in the mirror and the cars behind you didn't agree with the move you made, and you're a sitting duck. And you might get alongside of the car you're trying to pass, but they've all stayed in the bottom lane, and now you're dropping like a rock. So that's the part that makes it so tough is 1 week, one lap. I mean, during the course of the race, you make a lot of, everybody's trying to pass and do what they can. Not every one of them work out. So you just kind of play the numbers. You keep trying and try to show. And I was taught by Jeff, show that you're going to complete the pass. Make the pass and the effort in the right spot at the right time, and people will follow. You have to show people, and build that trust and rapport that you're going to make the right move here that is not only going to work for you, but for the guys behind you. If you get a little too narrow-minded and just worried about a single car pass, a lot of times that'll come back to bite you, especially if we're chasing the yellow line around the track. Usually you can defend and hang on the yellow line. And I lost a 500 here. I can't remember the year. But coming down the back straightaway, thought I was in a great position, pulled out going into turn 3, pulled out to the outside, thought everybody would follow me because it was the last lap. It was way too early. I mean, if I waited until off of 4, I think people would have gone with me. I just went too early. They stayed in line. I came back by in 7th or 8th.
Not because of something you would try in an earlier race. That was just because of the way the race had gone.
Just the way it worked out, and you're thinking about yourself, well, the guy behind me is like, well, I'm going to push you to the lead, and then it's you and I stuck in the outside lane dropping like a rock. Why am I going to do that? So there's a bit of you need to have a vision in some respects where why would somebody want to follow you? Why are they going to work with you? And if you have from turn 3 to the finish line, that's a long gap. You need to wait till you get over here where it's a little shorter distance.
Claire B. Lang.
Thanks, Sirius XM NASCAR Radio. Another quick question on the restarts. Obviously, you didn't get to be a 5-time champ by letting things get into your head. In the garage, some people were saying, well, this is after the race. Those restarts are getting in his head. It sounds to me more like you were focusing on the rule, almost like if that's the rule, this is what I'm going to do. Is it easy to not let it get in your head after a couple of times after that rule came down that sort of bit you? And that's not part of it, that you have started to let it get in your head?
I'm not smart enough to let it get in my head, so we're fine there. There's not much between these years.
All right, let's.
Sort of bit you before and you were overthinking it? Was it just that you were sort of sticking on the rule and this is the rule, I'm going to do what the rule says?
Yeah, very, very focused on the rules for sure, in the way they read and expecting, things to be officiated that way. But again, I've made so many mistakes throughout my career, and these 2 restarts look like something, but I mean, we all make mistakes out in those race cars every single lap, all the time. So just, opportunities to learn, really the way I'm looking at it.
Godwin. I'm going to take 3 more after Godwin. Brian, Alan, Holly.
Jimmy, I'm back here. Matt Kenseth, are you surprised at how he's done this year and that he's a championship contender, seeing as how he's thrown in with a new team?
No, not at all. Our sport is really about people and the relationships between driver and a crew chief is really the start of that whole process. And Matt's awesome. The guy does a great job driving the car, knows what he's looking for, doesn't let things rattle him, can withstand pressure. I mean, he can do it all. He really does a great job. And, Dave's been coming along as a crew chief, growing, learning, very smart guy, very well-respected guy in the garage area. And the pairing of those two, I think, the garage area took notice when Matt made the decision to leave, and then who he was paired with, I think everybody felt they're going to have their hands full, over the course of the year with the 20 car, and that's been the case for sure.
Go to Brian, and then Alan, and finish with Holly. Go ahead.
Brian Nelson, Motor Racing Network. Jimmy, as we look forward to the 20th Brickyard 400 here in a few weeks, obviously you're going back as a 4-time and defending race winner there, but what does it mean to you? What does Indianapolis still mean to you personally, and your sense of the broad meaning in the garage area?
To me, on a personal level, I just recall sitting on the couch with my dad and my grandfather watching the Indy 500. I can remember a variety of races and incidents that took place from watching myself. I remember my grandfather's stories and talking about his heroes that raced on that track and his opinions of it. So I remember that childhood aspect and how cool that track was. And truthfully, through my upbringing in off-road racing, with Rick Mears and Robbie Gordon coming from my world and going into IndyCar, that's the route that I wanted to pursue and the road I wanted to go down. Clearly, things took a much different turn as I got older and my professional career developed. And now to go there and have won at that track 4 times, it's insane. And one of my heroes with Rick Mears in that situation. So it's been a wild experience and a very rewarding experience, because at that racetrack, it's very special to win here in Daytona. I mean, it is. It takes others on the track with the draft and how you work that. And you almost want to thank other drivers. And it's often done in victory lane. I wouldn't have been able to win the race if so-and-so didn't push me or help me. But at Indy, it's a different game. I mean, the track is so technical and so hard to drive. It took me a long time to figure it out. But once I figured out the line and how to drive it, we've had great success there. And with that, the challenge that goes with it, there's huge reward when you're able to win. And I've been able to experience that a few times. It's really cool.
Alan, and then finish with Holly.
Alan Cavano, NASCAR.com. Jimmy, you've won a lot of races, but races like last week, do you feel like you lost that, you gave it away, and can you be your own worst enemy inside that car?
At times. I mean, all drivers can be their own worst enemy. And, I feel like that one in Kentucky is definitely on me. I'm the guy behind the wheel at the controls. And, we went down into turn 1. I'm not exactly sure. I haven't seen the video, but we were 3 wide going in the corner, and the air affected my car, and I got turned around. And, if I didn't spin there, I really feel like, regardless of the restart not being a pretty one for whatever reason, I still had a very good opportunity to win the race. I feel like our car was strong enough. If I came out of there in 2nd or 3rd, I feel like I had enough laps to get up there and take the lead again. So I hate that really what went on in turn 1 and 2 in the spin. And that's really, I know a lot of people have talked about other issues, But for me, the bottom line is getting turned around. And if we didn't get turned around in 1 and 2, I still think we could have won. And I've got to make sure that we can get through 1 and 2 and not spin out. That's really the ultimate thing.
Final question, Holly.
Holly Kay, NASCAR.com. Jimmie, you're a very laid back kind of guy and very seldom get really frustrated. So how do you kind of get beyond that? I mean, last week, and what do you do to put that behind you, or do you use that as fuel, going forward?
No, I mean, it might seem that I'm real calm all the time, but I think we all drivers leave the track frustrated with something. Missed opportunity, car didn't perform all weekend, or car didn't respond. There's pit calls, there's driver mistakes, speeding penalties. I mean, I rarely leave the track and not go home in deep thought thinking about what I could have done differently. So, they sting a bit more when you lead all those laps and don't leave with the trophy. There's no doubt about it. But I've been doing this long enough to know how to shrug that stuff off, focus on what's important and what I can learn from, and then go to the next race. Yeah.
Thanks, Jimmie. Good luck.
Got it.